The first light of dawn crept through the pastel curtains of the Thompson household, painting soft stripes across the patterned kitchen tiles. Outside, sparrows flitted in crisp autumn air, and a gentle breeze stirred the fallen leaves in fiery hues along Maplewood Drive. Inside, the kitchen clock ticked steadily towards 7:02 a.m., the hour when 7-year-old Lila Thompson made her morning pilgrimage to the one corner of the house where she always felt safest, Goldie's fishbowl. Goldie, a radiant comet of orange and gold, glided languidly among the plastic castle turrets that rose from the middle of her glass world. Tiny bubbles frothed upward from the air stone, catching the morning light like dewdrops on a spider's web. Lila padded across the linoleum floor in her fuzzy slippers, air mussed from sleep, and pressed her face against the cool curve of the bowl. "Good morning, Goldie," she whispered, voice soft enough to stir even the fish's quicksilver fins. As Goldie circled in the greeting, her tail flicking with practiced grace, Lila reached for the small stainless steel scoop. She carefully measured out the morning flakes, watching them break apart overhead before drifting down like ember sparks into the crystal water. Each morsel Goldie nipped with dainty precision, tiny gill motions rippling across her polished scales. For Lila, this routine was not simply a chore, but a sacred ritual, a moment of calm before the bustle of school and errands. Behind Lila, the house stirred to life. The hum of the furnace spun up in the basement, its vents emitting warm currents that pushed the hush of dawn back into corners. The refrigerator's magnetic chime announced Daniel Thompson stepping in for coffee, and the soft rustle of newspapers heralded Sarah Thompson's move from crossword to kitchen table. Yet as the family routines clicked into place, a quiet tension built. The front door's deadbolt locked from the outside, the garage door secured, and the hallway door to the bedrooms latched, leaving Lila alone with Goldie for these precious first minutes of the day. Lila wanted to greet her parents, but the hallway door wouldn't budge. Cheryl reached up on her toes and tugged the knob, only to find it locked. A rising knot of panic tightened in her chest. She darted to the front entrance and jiggled that doorknob, too. Locked, firm as the day before. Her small voice trembled with confusion as she called, "Mum? Dad?" Only silence answered back. Lila's breath hitched, and for a moment she froze, standing between the bright windows and the warm glow of the fishbowl. Swallowing hard, Lila returned to the fishbowl, her eyes brimming with tears. Goldie paused mid-swim, her dark eyes reflecting the worried child's face as clearly as a mirror. Lila's hand shook as she reached to stroke the fishbowl's rim. "Help me, Goldie," she whispered. In that instant, a stray sunbeam, long and slender, slid through the living room window and struck Goldie's scales. The bowl transformed into a prism, sending a slender baton of light arching across the white wall toward the locked hallway door. Lila blinked, wiping her nose with the edge of her sleeve. The shifting beam glowed and wavered as Goldie drifted side to side, each fin flutter sending microscopic ripples across the water's surface. The reflection traced a shimmering arc that landed precisely on the latch of the hallway door, illuminating a small triangular crack in the molding where, weeks ago, her mother's keychain had fallen and gone missing. Lila's heart leapt as she realized the flash of light had revealed the hidden prize. She scrambled onto a sturdy kitchen stool, the metal legs clanking softly against the tile, and reached toward the reflected patch. Behind her, Goldie's attentive gaze never wavered, as though urging the child to keep going. Lila's fingertips brushed something cool and metallic, the familiar curve of her mother's star-shaped keyring, wedged in the recess. She fumbled it free, heart pounding, and all at once, the kitchen's silence felt charged with possibility. With trembling hands, Lila inserted the key into the latch's hidden seam. The bolt clicked open like a secret door releasing its treasure. Relief expanded in her chest as she turned the knob and peered into the dim hallway beyond. For the first time that morning, and perhaps in her young life, Lila understood the extraordinary way Goldie's simple reflection had become a lifeline. Gathering the keychain in one hand and clutching the stool with the other, she stepped forward into a day that would forever be defined by a goldfish's clever light beneath the surface. Warm light from Goldie's bowl still danced across the kitchen, wore when Lila crept through the now unlatched hallway door. Her small feet padded over the floral runner as she peered down the dim corridor. The front door loomed at the far end, its brass deadbolt and doorknob gleaming dully in the morning light, filtering through the frosted side lights. The knob refused to turn. Her parents had double-locked it from the outside. Panic fluttered in her chest once more, but Goldie's steady reflection on the nearby console table gave Lila new hope. She darted back into the kitchen, fetched the collapsible stool, and carried it to the entryway. Leaning Goldie's bowl against the bench, she angled the lid until the fish's flickering gold scales cast a slanted beam onto the underside of the narrow console table by the door. There, shadows gave way to a small, rectangular patch of tape affixed to the table's bottom. Heart thundering, Lila climbed onto the stool again, reached beneath and peeled back the silver duct tape to reveal a tiny key taped to the wood. The key was star-shaped, her mother's emergency latch key. Lila cradled it in her palm, imagining all the times her parents had used it to kill the garage lights or to lock storage cabinets. Now it was her lifeline. Kneeling on the floor to steady herself, she inserted the key into the lower bolt of the front door. Metal caught and clicked as the bolt withdrew. She paused to steady her breath, then turned the round key in the doorknob above. With a deep, trembling inhale, she twisted, and the knob yielded. The front door swung open onto a narrow porch swept with fallen maple leaves. The crisp autumn air rushed in, carrying distant bird calls and the faint hum of a passing car. Lila's eyes stung with relief as she stepped onto the porch and tugged the door closed behind her, the lock clicking into place. Goldie's bowl rattled on the kitchen console, an abandoned sentinel now silent. But the Thompsons' ordeal was not yet over. A half block away, the neighborhood was already stirring. Delivery trucks backed into driveways, joggers passed in bright windbreakers, and the mail carrier paused to peer into the Thompson yard, sensing something amiss. Lila clutched the door handle, as if rooting herself in this newfound freedom, then let go and ran down the free wooden steps to the sidewalk, her lavender slippers slipping on the dew-damp concrete. Goldie's reflection no longer guided her, but Lila felt braver for having trusted her instincts and her fish's shimmering light. She rounded the corner of Maplewood Drive just as the mail carrier raised her hand. "Miss Thompson?" the woman called, concern flickering in her eyes. Lila nodded, breathless, and whispered, "I'm okay, I'm safe." Relief rippled through the mail carrier's face. She scooped Lila into a warm hug and dialed 911, her coat cradling the little girl against the cool morning. Behind them, the Thompson house sat quiet and secure. The hallway door's latch was drawn, the front door bolted, and the console table's secret key compartment lay empty. Inside, Goldie the Goldfish resumed her gentle orbits. Her reflection now just a dance of light and shadow. No longer a code to crack, but a reminder of the clever spark that had guided a small child to safety. Lila's small form trembled with relief as she stepped off the porch and onto the cool sidewalks. In the pale dawn light, she could just make out her mail carrier, Mrs. Dalton, pausing mid-step with her satchel still slung over one shoulder. The elderly woman's eyes widened at the sight of Lila standing alone on the curb in her slippers. "Lila, my goodness, child, are you all right?" Mrs. Dalton asked, setting down her bag and kneeling. Lila thrust her spare key clutch into the woman's hands and pointed back at the house. Goldie, help me," she stammered. I was locked inside and Goldie's scales showed me where the keys were. At that moment, a black SUV rounded the corner. Lila's father, Daniel, tensed as he saw his daughter standing in her pajamas. He skidded to a stop, leapt from the vehicle and raced toward her. "Lila!" he cried, scooping her into his arms. Emma, her face drawn with panic, emerged from behind him. "Honey, where were you? I thought you were at school," she exclaimed, brushing snowflake damp hair from Lila's forehead. As the family reunited, neighbors began to trickle onto the street. Mr. Cohen from next door crossed the road with his cell phone raised. "Are you okay? Should I call someone?" he asked, already dialing 911. Lila's mother nodded, voice thick with gratitude. Yes, please, just to be safe. Within moments, red and blue lights flickered around the cul-de-sac as Maplewood first responders arrived. Officer Patel, the friendly neighborhood police officer, guided Mrs. Thompson and Lila into a patrol car outfitted with booster seats. Paramedic Ramos knelt by Daniel's side, checking his pulse and offering a blanket. Lila's cheeks flushed at the attention, but she managed a small nod. I'm fine now. Meanwhile, firefighter Hernandez and engineer Lewis slipped into the garage, carbon monoxide meters in hand, only to find no poisonous gases present. No furnace, crack, no CO leak. They checked every window and door, then stepped outside to warm their hands. In this case, the only hazard had been a locked door and a forgotten key. As the Thompson family received vugs from neighbors, Ms. Alvarez, who had brought freshly baked muffins, the Parkers, who offered spare slippers, and the Evans, who handed them hot cocoa, word of Lila's narrow escape spread like wildfire. Mrs. Cartwright, the local elementary school principal, arrived breathless, tears shining in her eyes. I heard on the scanner. Lila, you were very brave, she said, enveloping the little girl in a gentle embrace. And Goldie, she added, nodding at the small fishbowl tucked inside the patrol car, well, Goldie is our hero too. By 8:30 a.m., the Maplewood Gazette's reporter, Thomas Nguyen, slipped a notepad into Lila's father's hand. I'd love to share your story, he said quietly, so other families know to keep an eye on faulty locks. Daniel looked at Lila, who was gently stroking Goldie's bowl in her lap, and then nodded. Yes, he agreed. If it saves even one child, it's worth telling. Before leaving, Officer Patel handed Lila a reflective sticker sheet. Put these on your front door and windows, he instructed. They'll help show the key's hiding place, just like Goldie's scales did. Lila's eyes lit up as she accepted the gift, pressing the shiny decals into her mother's palm. As the Thompson car drove away, followed by the patrol vehicle, neighbors lingered, speaking in hushed tones of wonder and admiration. Imagine, said Mrs. Evans, a little fish saving a child's life. I'll be checking every lock in my house tonight, replied Mr. Cohen. On Maplewood Drive, vigilance had become a tangible ripple, a wave of caution and community care that would echo long after the sun rose high above the rooftops. By late morning, the Thompson home stood quiet once more, its doors secured and its inhabitants safely reunited. But beyond the porch, a far greater transformation was underway, a wave of awareness washing over Maplewood and beyond. Within hours of Lila's rescue, local hardware stores reported record demand for spare key lockboxes, reflective stickers, and child safety key racks. Pineview Hardware's owner, Ken Nakamura, stood behind his counter fielding calls for Goldie-style key solutions. He later told reporters, I've never seen anything like it. People want every possible way to ensure no child is ever locked in again. Across town, Maplewood Elementary's PTA convened an emergency meeting that afternoon in the school library. Teachers, parents, and the principal, Ms. Cartwright, gathered at long folding tables laden with safety brochures and lock samples. Emma Thompson, still clutching Lila's squirrel print blanket, described the moment Goldie's shimmering reflection revealed the hidden keys. If a fish can save a life, she said, voice firm, our homes can and must do at least as much. Applause broke out, and within minutes, the PTA had voted to launch a key-safe initiative. Every classroom would receive small lockboxes for spare keys, and a monthly door unlock drill would teach students what to do if they ever found themselves trapped. Meanwhile, Fire Marshal Hughes and Chief Building Inspector Dawson collaborated on a public safety bulletin circulated to every homeowner association in the county. It outlined best practices. Install a key deadbolt with an interior thumb turn that cannot be locked without the key on the inside. Mount reflective decals near door frames to guide children to hidden key locations in low light. Place spare keys in child-proof lockboxes at reachable heights. Practice evacuation drills at home, emphasizing door checks and window exits. The bulletin concluded with a tribute to Goldie and a plea. Let this goldfish's clever reflection be the spark that illuminates every household's blind spot. That evening, the Maplewood Gazette's front page headline read, Goldie glows, how fish's scales ignited a community safety revolution. The accompanying article detailed every aspect of the Thompson rescue, from Mrs. Dalton's timely discovery to Officer Patel's reflective sticker giveaway. A colour photo showed Lila beaming beside a towering cardboard cutout of Goldie, her small hand resting proudly on the fish's bowl. In the weeks that followed, neighbourhood block festivals featured Goldie booths, where volunteers distributed key safes and demonstrated reflective sticker placement. Contractors reported increased sales of interior thumb-turn bolts and child-resistant lock nuts. A local children's museum even added an interactive exhibit. Under a giant glass cube filled with water, visitors could maneuver a small light source to guide a mechanical key through a maze, emulating Goldie's life-saving beam. Back at the Thompson house, Goldie basked in a renovated tank, now flanked by photos of Lila's smiling face and the little stars of reflective stickers that graced the walls. Each evening, as Emma tested the deadbolt and Lila pressed the reflective star beneath the knob, they felt a quiet gratitude for the fish who had taught them, and their entire community, that vigilance, no matter how small or unexpected, can illuminate the ways to safety. 6 months after the morning Goldie's glinting scales saved Lila's life, Maplewood had become a model of household safety and community solidarity, all sparked by a single clever goldfish. On the crisp evening of April 5th, the town gathered in Chestnut Park beneath lantern-lit trees to celebrate the inaugural Goldie Day Festival, an event dedicated to vigilance, preparedness, and the unexpected heroism of our smallest friends. A festival of light and reflection. String lights crisscrossed the park's central pavilion, their soft glow mirrored in dozens of shallow, reflecting pools, arranged in concentric circles. At the heart of these pools floated hundreds of miniature bowls, each containing a lone goldfish donated by local families. Children crowded around, pressing their noses to the glass, while volunteers gently coaxed spinning LED wands over the water's surface, mimicking the shimmering reflection that had revealed Lila's hidden key. Lila herself led the opening ceremony, standing on a wooden dais beside a life-size bronze sculpture of Goldie, her tail poised mid-swish. Mayor Thompson, her namesake and Lila's own grandmother, took the microphone. Let this festival remind us that sometimes the smallest light can guide us through our darkest moments, she proclaimed, gesturing to the glowing fish bowls. A hush fell, and then the crowd released tea-light lanterns into the sky, their flames dancing upward like sparks of gratitude, honoring everyday heroes. Nearby, a row of hero stations honored the people, whose quick actions amplified Goldie's impact. Mrs. Dalton, the mail carrier, who first discovered Lila safe on the curb, received the Maplewood Guardian Award. Fire Marshal Hughes and Chief Inspector Dawson were presented with plaques for their rapid public safety reforms. Ken Nakamura of Pineview Hardware and Officer Patel of the Maplewood Police each received commendations for their leadership in distributing safety equipment. As each name was called, the honorees stepped forward to applause, then placed a reflective sticker on the base of Goldie's sculpture, symbolically safeguarding Lila's story for all who would come. Education and empowerment. The festival grounds buzzed with interactive learning tents. Under Safe Home, Safe Family, carpenters demonstrated the installation of interior thumb-turned deadbolts and child-proof key lock boxes. Next door, the Reflective Arts Studio invited children to decorate their own sticker sheets, which they carried home to reinforce door frames and windows. In the Fishbowl Science Tent, local marine biologists explained how light refracts through curved glass, turning Goldie's simple tank into a life-saving projector. A fish's quiet return. As dusk deepened to twilight, Lila approached the park's large community aquarium, where Goldie now swam alongside other golden companions in a vast cylindrical tank. Dozens of spotlights carefully positioned around the tank created dancing beams that traced across the surrounding walls, an homage to the very reflection that had guided Lila to freedom. Children pressed their palms against the cool glass, marveling at how a flash of light could carry such power. Lila knelt beside the aquarium, whispering thanks to Goldie. The fish paused in her arc, fins flicking gently in acknowledgement, then resumed her graceful orbit. In that silent exchange, Lila felt the enduring bond between them, a shared story of trust, ingenuity, and the vital importance of listening to even the smallest voice. A community united. As the festival drew to a close, the lantern's embers dwindled in the night sky, and families strolled home beneath arching oaks. Yet the glow of Goldie Day lived on. In each installed deadbolt, and every reflective sticker catching passing headlights, and in the hearts of those who now knew that vigilance and compassion could come riding on subtle beams of light. And so, every year on April 5th, Maplewood remembered that a single goldfish's clever reflection could shine a path out of danger, and that by honoring that light, a community could ensure its safety for generations to come.